Brian Stevens here with the National Real Estate Post. I have Mike Farr, who's a division director with American Pacific Mortgage. By the way, one of the better companies that I know in this country, because I know a lot of loan officers over there, and these guys do a great job. You're in for a treat right now. Mike Farr is one of the few people who've actually kind of caught me off guard. And I was having a conversation with somebody else, and we were talking about, like, where do we exist? Middle management, like, what do we do? How do we create opportunities in the mortgage industry? And Mike gave me an example that I thought was really incredible. Again, I told you I'm not going to tell you about this. Explain middle management, why it works and why it doesn't.
Well, I can tell you, Brian, here's the deal. We learned in the last market that we just went through, right? We've had massive changes in the industry in the last 12, 14 months. And to me, there's no waste in mortgage. Before 2020, 2021, and I would say really historically in mortgage, there's a lot of revenue in this business. And when there's a lot of revenue, it doesn't really identify, it doesn't allow you to find where there might be inefficiencies because there's so much revenue pouring around, you kind of overlook some of these details. Well, what I like about a market like the one that we just went through is it makes us be more efficient. Right? Yeah. Price mattered in the last 12 months, didn't it? I mean, it mattered a lot to the tune of seeing mortgage originators, what we call the great migration. They started moving companies, signing bonuses, all these things. And usually people make changes, not because of companies. They usually make changes because of relationships. And those relationships start with branch managers, regional managers, divisional managers, whatever you want to be. So the way I've been looking at this market is all those efficiencies. I was in charge of managing the financial, success or demise of companies. And when I'm looking at all the overhead that we have and all the money that we spend and where can we cut, where can we optimize, looking for all those things, what I found is a large chunk of the revenue that come into these companies gets paid to these leaders. And that's great. If you have great leadership, we always will pay what we consider to be equal in value. So what I had seen was in this market, from an originator perspective, our customers are going to require more value now more than ever. Would we agree with that?
Yeah, totally.
Customers need more value. So we as leaders are telling our advisors this: you need to become more valuable as well. You need to be a consultant. You need to be an advisor. You need to dig deep and find out what people's real challenges are so we can solve big problems for them. If we solve big problems, we have big opportunities, big influence, and big impact. If we solve piddly little problems, we have no impact, we have no opportunity, therefore they don't really need us. So we need to be valuable. So my point with a leader is, if we're saying these things about our customers and our loan officers, as a leader and a branch manager like I am, as well as a division director, right, I need to be more valuable to my loan officers as a leader.
But what does that look like?
So what it looks like for me is we actually created a process, and we created a little acronym for leadership called BLAST Leadership. And that's kind of the name of the game for us. And so to me, what I started to think about is I started talking to our loan officers. That's a great place to start, by the way. Find out what their biggest challenges are and what their biggest headaches are. How can I be super valuable to my originators so that they need me, so they want to continue to be here? Otherwise, I have no need to exist, right? So I have to be able to be valuable to them. So the way we came up...
I just want to say this right now. Like, I literally was in a relationship with a mortgage company, and I didn't know what my value proposition was. Like, I really honestly didn't get it. And when I came up and I saw you, I'm like, he gets it. He totally gets it. So, like, everything that you're saying right now makes perfect sense to me. Everyone wants to build teams and do all this stuff right now, but it's not necessarily like the best thing unless you can provide a real true value proposition. And what you told me is, you said, if you don't have it, then you're done. And I thought that was cool.
100%. I mean, at this day and age, there's no epiphany here, right? I mean, at the end of the day, I think Elon Musk said it, right? Your money, impact, and influence is based on the size and scope of problems that you solve. So like I said, if you're not helping people solve big problems, and are there big problems in the mortgage industry right now? Absolutely. Big problems in real estate? Absolutely. That's why, to me, as you and I were talking, Brian, I've been doing this 27 years now. And I was telling you, I think I'm more excited and enthusiastic about the market and my business than I've ever been in my history. And I have the lowest pipeline I've ever had. I'm probably going to make the least amount of money I've ever made, but the opportunity is very unique and bigger than I've ever seen it in 27 years. So I have gotten rid of limiting beliefs. I'm doing things I've never done before. I'm doing interviews and things like this. I usually kind of hang out in the back. I want my loan officers and everybody else to be the face. But to me, the name of the game is somebody's got to get out there and knock some sense into us that this market has changed and therefore our strategies have to change. And that's the name of the game. So to me, this isn't a complex idea, but we can jump into it.
Yes, it is. All right.
Well,
So you said something before that I thought was really interesting. You said, I want to reinvent the mortgage industry right now. Can you explain that?
absolutely. I want to disrupt it, man. I mean, I think at the end of the day, here's my history. I've been very, very fortunate and very blessed in this industry. I think I mentioned to you, my mom was in the business for 40 plus years. My sister's an underwriter. She's been doing it 18, 20 years. My dad was a realtor. I got in this when I was 19 years old, man. This is the only business I've ever known. So I grew up in a household of mortgage people.
Dude,
And
we share blood, by the way.
we do. I mentioned
Just to let you
yesterday.
know, we share blood, Ben.
Yeah,
Right,
you know
keep
my
going.
mom and that history. She's on the ops side. I always kind of fell on the sales side. But to me, I just feel very, very humbled and thankful and blessed that this industry not only provided a living for me growing up as a child, but it's also provided a living for the 5 kids that I have. And they've been able to live a great life through this industry as well. There's great characters in here. They're gregarious folks that we get to meet, the fun that we get to have, the travel. And we live in a business where there's all this personal growth opportunity. So I'm just a better version of myself for this industry. So to me, I want to leave it better than I found it. So I'm in a stage of my career.
By the way, I believe that when you say that. I believe that when you say that. Here's the whole thing. I don't think a lot of people believe that when they say that. Like, you just said something, and I saw this in you a couple of weeks ago when you say, I want to leave this better, man. You feel grateful for all the opportunities you had. And you told me, you said, I came from a place that shouldn't put me here, but I'm here and I'm grateful.
Absolutely.
And I think there's something really wonderful about that. Like, we need to be much more grateful about like what we do in life.
Oh, 100%. I mean, not only is it grateful, but I feel a responsibility. Okay. So, and that's where I think something gets lost in this business too, is that we all have responsibility. I feel responsible to this industry for what it's given to me. But I think our loan advisors need to understand that their customers, you have a responsibility to them to continue to improve, to continue to add things to your skill set, to stay in touch with them. You have a responsibility when you put somebody in the biggest debt of their life.
You do.
And you should help manage them through that debt to where the real dream of home ownership is no debt on that home. So we need to stay with our clients, and we have a responsibility to work all the way through. But yeah, no, man. So I mean, that's the name of the game. So the way I see to disrupt it from my perspective, from my point of view, is, and this is no knock on mortgage companies. I think people that own mortgage companies are taking a tremendous amount of risk, and we owe them probably more gratitude than anybody in the industry, taking massive risks to put their personal guarantees on these warehouse lines and provide an environment for us as salespeople to be wildly successful. So this is not any knock on them by any means. And there's some great owners out there, and anybody in business right now in this business, we owe them a massive amount of gratitude because there's a lot of risk in this market right now. But having said that, I think that we all need to challenge each other to be better. To me, I don't care what company you work for. It's the industry that I'm most interested in improving. It's the industry that has helped me out. We've all worked for a bunch of different companies before. Let's admit it. Companies go out of business all the time, and it is what it is. But at the end of the day, I want the industry to be better than I found it. That's my kind of goal. And so I want to support it. And so from my perspective, what I've seen is, as I mentioned before, I look at probably 50 basis points in overrides that are paid to branch managers, regionals, divisionals, profits, whatever. And for all that revenue, there's a lot of hard work being done by these salespeople that bring in 100% of the dollars into the business. And to me, I want to flip the script a little bit and give some power back to the originator.
I love you saying that. Like, you're just talking about like all the people who make this stuff work. Mike Soldati, who was my mentor, he goes, there are 9,000 different pieces of math that all have to make sense. And if they don't, it's not going to work out. Like, do the math on this. Like, any one of the loans that we do is unbelievable. When I got into the business, dude, the files were this thick.
Yep.
They're this thick now. And what we do is we do. And I'm telling you right now, like, having like great advocates like you who's out there, like just seeing like the beautiful things that your LOs do is just wonderful. We need more of you.
Well, I appreciate that, man. I mean, I think at the end of the day, it's a tough market. I'm seeing people make posts on social media about what a tough market is, how hard it is to get through this, that, the other. For me, I guess I'm just more of an optimist. And I know the people in this industry, they're the most resilient professionals out there. We go through these cycles every few years, and they are tough. And I know that we are better from a mindset perspective than we're acting right now.
Yeah,
so that's my kind of thing, Brian, is that I want to get out there and say, look, I get the market's tough. I understand that. But we do need to understand that just because the market changed doesn't mean that our success needs to change. Markets determine our strategy. They don't determine our success. And I think what we need to understand is that the strategies to win in this market need to change. And I think a lot of us are sitting here hanging around watching. We're seeing everybody in the industry talk about rates are going to drop and property values are going to stay strong. The problem with that, and I believe those things to be true, by the way, but the problem, but they are true. But the problem with some of that is people are sitting around going, oh, okay, if rates are going to come down and property values are going to continue to improve and eventually inventory is going to come back, I can stay doing the things that I've done and I'll just wait it out. But that's the problem. That's an enabling type of thing. You cannot win in this market doing the things you did in the last 2 or 3 years. You need to learn new skill sets. You need to go deeper with your clients. You got to ask better questions of your customers, and you're going to have to be more proactive going into the market and creating a market. It's not going to come to you. You're going to have to go create it. So we got to get better at what we're doing. And I think that a lot of our sales skills have atrophied in the last couple of years because we haven't needed them because there's been a line around the block. So I think that we got to get better at what we're doing. And we have a lot of strategies that we put in place that we're teaching our people to do that.
So one of the things that I really like that you said, when your enthusiasm, I just love it because we need more people like you. But you said you're going to do like a meeting every single week, 52 this year.
Yes, sir.
So can other people who don't work for you, can they jump on these calls?
They possibly could. You know, right now, Brian, we just joined a division over here. And so we all came from kind of one company. We've added some new people since we've come over. So we're kind of bonding as a team right now, but we are absolutely going to start opening our sales meetings up, probably on a once a month basis. We'll bring people in depending on the topic. But we're sharing a lot of strategies and stuff, but we're absolutely going to start opening up to, people that are kicking tires with our company. But as far as I'm concerned, Brian, I'll open it up to anybody because here's one thing I've learned in mortgage. There are no real secrets. We all know what to do. Are we willing to do it or not? And to me, that's why we want to create a tribe of accountability around what to do. It's funny, Brian, I had a loan officer. We created a little group a couple of years ago of all of our loan officers that have been in the business 2 years or less. So I had 8 or 10 of them in Northern California. I brought them all into a meeting. And one of the guys that was in the business about 14, 18 months, he sat there to the group and we were talking strategies from kind of this millennial perspective or newer people in the industry. And me and my business partner at the time wanted to kind of get an idea what these newbies think about our industry and what the strategies are. And one of them sat there and said, he goes, any one of us in this room, even a year in the business, could write a book on how to make $1 million in the mortgage industry. And it would be accurate. It would, if you follow these things, it would be accurate. Yep. But why don't we do it?
It's so funny. One of my good friends, Johnny Fowler, who you've probably run across him, he said the same thing. He goes, every millionaire's written a book. He goes, the thing is, nobody follows it. Like, nobody follows it. But yes, if you want to find a way to be successful, there is absolutely a blueprint. I totally agree with you.
Oh, 100%. But to me, where the real success is you got to create that tribe. You have to create a group. The Lone Ranger model back in the 90s when I got in, is you grabbed a little cube in some office building somewhere and you just did loans by yourself. We found that recipe for success when we started grabbing originators and putting them all into one room. And that was the birth of the larger mortgage branches, right? That we've seen over the last 15 years.
Right.
Rising tides lift all boats.
You grew up with.
Yeah, you bring that energy and that enthusiasm under one roof. Hey, this person over here is making a bunch of calls and just got 3 new deals in contract. I want to get 3 deals in contract. Doing power hours together, sharing ideas, collaborating. That built-in energy and accountability of a tribe, if managed properly, can be very conducive to sales success for people that otherwise wouldn't have achieved. Right. So for me, when I got into leadership, Brian, my number one goal was to help folks achieve more than they thought was possible for themselves. And the only way I've been able to see that actually play out is in groups. Other people have to come in and help manufacture that environment so that people do believe they can do more.
You got good people. Like great you people, got actually. Good people.
We have great people.
You're surrounded by good people.
Agreed.
But they love you. Like, that's the whole thing. Like, I know your people. I've known them for 20 years and they love you. I'm like, why do they love this guy? And then I met you and you're in it to win it, just like me. I mean, I kind of get that.
I appreciate it, man. I feel a responsibility.
No, I mean that.
Yeah, I feel a responsibility. These people bust their tails for me. I bust my butt for them. And that's just the name of the game. So like I said, I'm as all in right now as I've ever been, probably.
You said I came from nowhere?
Yes, sir.
And my life was a bunch of bullshit. And I was given an opportunity and I didn't pass it up. That's what 100%. You said.
Absolutely.
Hey, listen, if you want to meet Mike, I'm telling you right now, he's one of the few people, I swear to God, who really just kind of influences me. I love everything he talks about. Click the banner down below. If you want to meet up with him, by all means, it would be good for you. With that said, Mike, thank you so much.
I appreciate you, Brian.